Okay, so before we start anything, I have a question. How many of you have heard about this Tucker Carlson craziness of the last week? Okay. And how many of you in doing that have heard that he had this guy on his show named Nick Fuentes? How many of you know who Nick Fuentes is? Okay. So there's a video. I encourage you all. We're going to try and show it, but Melinda doesn't think we could all hear it. There's a video I want to recommend everyone see so you understand what we're talking about tonight. There's a video. If you Google video of Nick Fuentes and the Hodge twins. How many of you have heard of the Hodge twins? They are major influencers. They have, I think, 10 million followers. And there's a video that between the different podcasts and platforms has been viewed over 7 billion times or downloaded over 7 million times. And this video is Nick Fuentes, who has said that things like Adolf Hitler was effing awesomely cool, and he had the right idea. And, you know, the Holocaust could never have happened because if it takes a minute to make the dough of a cookie and a minute to bake it and 30 seconds to cool it down, you couldn't bake 6 million cookies in 4 years. So the Holocaust never happened. Nick Fuentes is a guy who is just a very, very sick individual, misogynistic, racist, but everything is the Jews' fault. He thinks Hitler is cool because he was having sex with teenage girls. He says, that makes him cool. By the way, Nick is apparently from all reports gay, but that doesn't matter. So he's on the Hodge twins, and he literally is saying on this, he's explaining Jewish theology to the Hodge twins, who are two black influencers, two of the biggest black influencers in our nation. Can you guys all hear me okay? Yes? Okay. I'm going to, you guys may have to move a little bit this way then, because it's so close. So, and so, yes. Someone said rabbi. You think if I go over here? Okay? He thinks it's better there. He's my boss. Right after God and Allison. So, all right, so they're two of the biggest black influencers in the country. Nick Fuentes is explaining Judaism to them and saying things like, you can only be a Jew if your parents are Jewish, and it's a closed club, and the Hodgmans say, really? No wonder they hate everybody else. No wonder they think they're chosen. You can only be born into it. I can be a black Muslim, a black Christian, but I can't be a black Jew. Is that true? No. But this is what's put out to millions and millions of people. Okay? This is a guy who put out things in that same interview, same talk, about the Talmud says that Jesus is being burned in hell in his own feces. That's what the Talmud says. And things like this. It is beyond offensive and disgusting on every level. What's important to recognize is that he has become mainstream through people like, where'd Bob go? Oh, there you are. Through people like Tucker Carlson, Candace Owens, Jake Shields. These are people who have audiences in the millions or tens of millions of people who are putting out, they're saying that Jewish texts or Jews admit themselves, when they're honest, they will admit themselves how they're all about money, how the Talmud says you should lie to non-Jews, things like this, all of which are fallacies. It is becoming accepted as mainstream because people like Tucker Carlson put this jackass on his show. And then the Heritage Foundation backs Tucker Carlson up, which is why a rabbi walked out of the Heritage Foundation 2 days ago, why Pastor Lori Cardoza walked out of the Heritage Foundation board yesterday. J.D. Vance, how many of you heard of J.D. Vance? Vice President was confronted with a question about this and Tucker Carlson at a TPUSA and dodged the entire issue and said, well, America's about America. And I'm not going to badmouth Tucker Carlson because he's about making America great again. This is what's going on. This is the same Tucker Carlson who at TPUSA last summer was a closing keynote speaker who said, why can't we just explore that the Jews are responsible for Jeffrey Epstein, that Mossad, he's a Mossad agent, put up so he can blackmail American politicians. As if there's this great Jewish cabal. My answer is, if there's a great Jewish cabal, I would like to know where my check is, because I haven't seen Gornish from this other than hate. So there are two things that these anti-Semites are doing. And it's very, very effective. One is, why can't we just explore? Why can't we explore that Israel killed Charlie Kirk, or that Israel's responsible for Jeffrey Epstein? Why can't we just explore the Holocaust never happened? Well, my answer is, okay, why can't we explore no black was ever a slave? Go screw yourself. Excuse my language. History is history. The other thing they do is they'll say, and this is what we're going to talk about tonight, they have this habit of saying, well, look, this is what Judaism says about itself. This is what Jews say about themselves. I have two rules from the pulpit. I don't talk politics, and I will never badmouth Israel, because the moment I badmouth Israel from the pulpit, it can be guaranteed every anti-Semite can say, see what the rabbi says? So we don't do that. Part of this is, and Bob, I'm going to let you explain this a little bit. Part of this is what's called replacement theology. Okay? This is not mainstream Christians or Catholics, but all these people are in fringe Christian groups. And Bob, would you explain very quickly what in a few words, what replacement theology is? Orlando, if you can, on Bob, please. That way.
Well, first off, let me say something I've said before, and that is that all of these people that he's talking about are Christians, but they're liberal mainstream. They're liberal mainstream Christians, like Catholic, Anglican, Episcopalian. They're not like us. There are so many Christians in America that's with Israel and still believe that the Jewish people are God's chosen people. I'm one of them. And there are tons of them. And you don't hear about them because they don't make the news. Replacement theology is the idea that the Jews were replaced by the Christians as God's chosen people. And so it's the Christians now, and the Jews are out of the picture. That's the thumbnail.
We talked a little bit about this with my holiday. That the chosen people does not mean anything other than, does not mean you're better, does not mean you're chosen for a task. It means that the way that I have chosen my wife has chosen me. Okay? Carolyn chose Alan. Alan chose Carolyn. That does not mean that Carolyn is better than Francine. It means that Carolyn is Alan's chosen one. Pull up a seat, pull up a table, pull up a chair. Yes.
I have a question about that.
Loudly.
So I have a question. So I heard one time somebody say that doesn't say God chose us, but we chose.
No, that's not true. It's not true. The text is very clear. So we are chosen. But we're chosen in that loving relationship, which means we also get the brunt of all the other stuff, right? Because a husband comes home, he's frustrated. He doesn't take it out on his colleagues, he takes it out on his wife. Not in your case, Ellen, because she'd throw you out. She would throw your butt out so fast. So, right? And so the idea is it's a more intimate relationship. That's all that it means. It does not mean anything more or less than that. Okay. So these are all people who are into replacement theology. We've talked about what anti-Semitism is, how it's been caused, how it's mutated over the last 2,000 years. But let's start to study this particular facet of anti-Semitism and how to fight it. So, who wants to read the first paragraph? Loudly. So I can get more pizza. Come on, somebody.
Their houses are
There we go, right there.
Their houses are full of God. That is why they have
Louder.
they have grown so wealthy. Jeremiah 5:27. In the last year, especially the last few months, we have seen many social influences who claim to be devout Christians attacking Israel specifically and all Jews generally. from Tucker Carlson to Candace Owens, Nick Fuentes to Jack Shields, pundits after pundits have been attacking Judaism to lesser and greater degrees. Denied the Holocaust, attacking facing Adolf Hitler, accusing different scoundrels like Jeffrey Epstein of actually being a Mossad agent, accusing Judaism of being a religion of pedophilia in Israel, a nation that welcomes sexual abusers, and even accusing Israel of assassinating Jewish kids. The list of their vile lies seems to be endless. Many of these Jew-hating pundits, especially Fuentes and Owens.
Let me just back up for 1 second. Those things that I said they're accusing of, these are all on video. Candace Owens, Nick Fuentes, Jake Shields, they are saying these exact quotes. Okay? They are saying these exact things. These are not exaggerations. These are not hyperbole. This is literally what they're saying. The Jews killed Kennedy. Okay? Things like that. Please continue. Nice and loudly.
Many of these Jew-hating pundits, especially Fuentes, Owens, and their followers, try to justify their hate by revealing what they are, what they say are quotes from the Talmud. They justify their anti-Semitism through litany of quotes that are clearly horrific. A Jew may have sex with a child under 9 years old. Gentiles prefer sex with cows. Even the best of Gentiles should be killed, and more. These ignorant influencers.
They say these are actual quotes from the Talmud. Okay? They're actually saying, and I really want to encourage you, watch the video of Nick Fuentes with the Hot Twins. Because he's saying, look guys, this is what it says in their sacred text, the Talmud. Go on, please.
These ignorant influencers claim that the Talmud has all sorts of anti-Christian quotes about Jesus. That he is a fool and insane, a bastard menstruation, Christ is evil, and was Esau himself, the accuser, and is burned in hell. And more, Owens claims to have done her research, and this is hidden Jewish theology.
Now I have a question. A number of you, we've been studying Talmud for however long, but you're relying on translations, right? Your mind or the text. A translation, by definition, is interpretation. These imbeciles, they don't know an olive from a bet. Do you think they're actually studying text? Moreover, not only they're so ignorant, they're so hate-filled and so lazy and so stupid that there's plenty of good translations of the entire Talmud online for free. Sefaria.org is a great example. Jewish Virtual Library is a great example. They don't even bother looking it up. It's not even in their equation. Please do the last paragraph.
Propaganda. Except without exception, the quotes that are being used are either entirely fabricated or conscious mistranslation. So how is it these anti-Semitic pundits are referencing anything about Talmud? How did it happen that Christian anti-Semites are quoting Jewish texts where they are not familiar with the text, nor do they even understand it? Can I ask you a question?
Yeah, please.
So I was having a conversation with someone.
Loudly.
I was having a conversation with someone after Talmud and tobacco a couple of months ago, and we were talking with Charlie Kirk thing and all that stuff, and then we were talking about Tucker Carlson, who I loved. Years ago, I loved him. I didn't know any of this. But then, I never heard a bad mouth when I was watching him. So he mentioned to me that after the problems with Fox News, and he was basically fired. He was fired from Fox News. That Qatar picked him up and was sponsoring him. Is that factual or?
Supposedly, a company called Illuminate, which does PR for Qatar, helped finance him. Supposedly, the ones who paid for him to go to Qatar. I will say that his attitude after going to Qatar, it was much more anti-Israel and anti-Semitic. I called him out as an anti-Semite 2 years ago in an article because he made a moral equivalency between October 7th and the fentanyl crisis in America. And if you could do that, I know you hate Jews because you're obviously you're so jaded.
Or is he influenced because money is
maybe
hotter than
I don't know. Laura Luber says he does. I don't know.
Okay.
All right, who wants to read page 2? Come on, loudly. Loudly. Come on, someone loudly. Come on. Okay. Orlando, we need over here. Come close, loudly.
To understand the progression of the practice of Jew haters, we need to go back and look at the history of almost 1,000 years. The Barcelona disputation.
Okay, so we're going to go back and we're going to look at something where they try to use Jewish texts to say that Jews are bad, called the Barcelona disputations. How many of you have ever heard of these? Fabulous. And this is going to be good learning. Okay, go ahead, please.
From the year 1263, in 1263, at the prompting of his confessor priest, King James, the first of Aragon, ordered a debate between Jewish and Christian leaders about the validity of Judaism. It was a formal debate between Dominican friar Pablo Cristiani, a convert from Judaism to Christianity, and Rambam, also known as Nachmanides, a leading medieval Jewish scholar, philosopher, physician, Kabbalist, and biblical commentator. It was held at the Royal Palace in the presence of the king, his court, and many prominent ecclesiastic dignitaries and knights. Cristiani assured the king that he could prove the truth of Christianity from the Talmud and other rabbinical writings. Given that the quote-unquote judges of this debate were Christian clergy, Jewish leaders were recalcitrant to participate.
Who wants to go in a fight when you know it's already rigged, right? Go ahead.
The single representative for the Jewish side was Nachmanides. The 4 sessions of the disputation took place on July 20th, 27th, 30th, and 31st in the year 1263, according to another calculation, July 20th, 23rd, 26th, and 27th. Basing himself on what Cristiani claimed was in the Talmud.
Remember, Cristiani was a knowledgeable Jew who converted to Christianity. Okay? So he, in theory, had studied Talmud as a child. Please go ahead.
The Christian contestants sought to prove 3 points that the Messiah had already appeared, that he was both human and divine, and had died to atone for the sins of mankind, and that in consequence, the precepts of Judaism had lost their validity.
This is the first formal example of replacement theology in terms of a debate.
Cristiani also argued that Pharisaic sages believed that the Messiah had lived during the Talmudic period, and that they must therefore have believed that the Messiah was Jesus. Nachmanides countered that Cristiani's interpretations of Talmudic passages were distortions. The rabbis would not hint that Jesus was the Messiah, while at the same time explicitly opposing him as such. He argued the sages of the Talmud would have converted to Christianity as Friar Paul did if they believed Jesus was the Messiah. Instead, however, they lived and died as Jews, as did Jesus.
Who wants to continue reading? Page 3, loudly. Come on, someone. I got nowhere to go tonight. I don't mind being here till 3 in the morning. There we go, loudly.
Instead, however, they lived and died as Jews, as did Jesus. Nachmanides even went on to attack the illogical.
Loudly.
Okay. Even went on to attack the illogical. Thank you. In Christian dogma concerning the nature of the divinity, some of the utterances hint at the future destruction of the Christendom. He referred slightingly to the fate of Jesus, who was persecuted in his own lifetime and hid from his pursuers. Rome, which has been a mighty empire before Jesus lived, declined after adopting Christianity, and now the servants of Muhammad have a greater realm than they.
So Nachmanides, Ramban actually says, every culture that embraces Christianity ends up going downhill. That's actually one of his arguments. Go on.
Ramban attacked the whole concept of the combination of human and divine attributes in Jesus. He demonstrated from numerous biblical and Talmudic sources that traditional, rabbinic, Jewish belief ran contrary to Christianity's postulates and showed that the biblical prophets regarding the future Messiah as a human, a person of flesh and blood, without ascribing him divine attributes. According to the Latin record of the proceedings, the disputation ended because fled prematurely from the city. Okay. In fact, he stayed on in Barcelona for over a week after the disputation had been suspended to be present in the synagogue on the following Sabbath when a conversionist sermon was to be delivered. After the debates, the king also attended the Sinagoga Major de Barcelona, one of the oldest synagogues in Europe, and addressed the Jewish congregants, a thing unheard of during the Middle Ages. James I awarded Nachmanides a prize of 300 gold coins and declared that never had he heard an unjust cause so nobly defended. The following day, Nachmanides left Aragon, never to return. Dominican Raymond Martini was prompted by the disputation to devise a better method of providing Christological interpretations of the Agada. In 1280, Martini concluded his book Hugio di Fidio, and henceforth it was used indiscriminately by every Christian.
Excuse me, next slide.
No, it was indiscriminately by every Christian controversialist wishing to invalidate Judaism by utilizing the same misquotes of the Talmud as Christianity.
So by 1280, what's happened by 1280? Because the disputations, when all odds are against Nachmanides, against the Ramban, and he wins, because of that, some say he tied, some say he won, but King James gave him a gold award, so I would say that's a win. Because that was a problem, this Dominican guy, comes up with this book in 1280 where he starts to say, look, the Jews, they're bad, and all we have to do is look at their text. And I know what I'm talking about because I can read their text. You can't, so trust my translations. And this is how we prove the Jews have been replaced. And this is how we prove they're evil. This is going back to 1280. They're trying to use a fallacious, lying interpretation of what the text actually says to say, oh, see, the Jews are evil. Everyone with me on this? All right, who wants to read the Talmud Unmasked? Someone very loudly. Go, loudly.
Talmud Unmasked. Almost without exception, these mistranslations and made-up quotes are coming from a book called The Talmud Unmasked, written in 1892 by a Jew-hating criminal priest named Christinus Fuentes. Some of which he took from, that too. A bishop from generations earlier. Placitinus was a converted blackmailer and forced to flee St. Petersburg because of his crimes as an unavowed hater of Jews. When called in as an expert witness for the blood libel trial of Menachem Bellis in 1912, his testimony demonstrated such an extreme lack of knowledge about Judaism and the Talmud that many in the audience occasionally laughed out loud when he clearly became confused and couldn't even intelligently answer some of the questions asked by Bellis' lawyer.
Okay, so it's this guy, he's a defrocked priest, he's a sexual abuser, he's a convicted felon, and a blackmailer, okay? And what does he do? He ends up writing this book. He's so ignorant in terms of Judaism that when he's called in as an expert witness, because he wrote this book, the audience actually laughs at him. That's how ignorant he was. Everyone got who this guy is? All right, please continue.
But in 1892, he wrote the book, which the Jew haters like Fuentes, Owens, et al. Are quoting from, which is subtitled The Secret Rabbinical Teachings Concerning Christians.
Okay, I got a question. Is the Talmud about Christians?
No.
No. Is the Talmud secret?
No.
Okay, so that tells you already in his book, Talmud Unmasked. Go on.
In it, he purports to quote from the Talmud teachings about Jesus, Christians, Freemasonry, secret Jewish rituals, Jewish conspiracy movements, etc.
I got a question. Do you think, I'm not going to say I know every word of the Talmud, but I'm pretty sure there's nothing about Freemasons in it, is there?
I don't think so.
Right? Not a lot about Christianity. Okay, go on.
This book has been universally rejected by scholars and academics as a work of anti-Semitism, couched as a piece of academia. That doesn't stop Jew-hating social influencers from quoting it repeatedly. Here are some specific examples of misquotes from the Talmud, unmasked, that are still being used by modern anti-Semites and what the Talmud actually says.
Okay, I'm going to keep using you. Listen, will you step with him and you're going to read? One of you read what the Talmud unmasked says, the other read what the actual Talmud says. Loudly, loudly. Can you guys hear them? No, you cannot hear them. Okay, we're going to move it to this side. You two are loud. Okay, one of you read Talmud unmasked, one of you read what the Talmud actually says. Nice and loudly.
All right, the Talmud unmasked.
Loudly.
Almost without exception, these mistranslations and made-up quotes are coming from a book called the Talmud unmasked.
No, we're already there. We're now on to the top of page 5.
My bad. Okay, here we are. What Talmud unmasked claims.
So you do what the Talmud unmasked claims. Jim, you talk about what the Talmud actually says in the exact same spot.
Okay. The tractate Halal 1b says Jesus was an illegitimate child born during menstruation. Now you.
The reality. There is no
Loud, Jim, loud.
There is no Halal 1b in actual Talmud. It refers to a post-Talmudic text, Hala Rabbatai, written in the 8th and 9th century.
Okay, so it says that there's a quote in the Talmud, but the book that it says it's in the Talmud doesn't even exist. Okay, go on.
Nowhere is Jesus or any other
Euphemistic name for
Jesus mentioned. The text talks about how the sins of a parent can manifest in deformities or disabilities in children.
So it's not in the Talmud. It's in a much later text, and that particular section talks about how deformities in a parent deficiencies in a parent can manifest in deformities of a child. Does that have anything to do with the idea that Jesus was a bastard? No. Please continue.
What Talmud unmasked claims that
Loudly.
Sanhedrin,
Your daughter's telling me both of you can be very loud.
Oh.
Actually, they haven't.
That Sanhedrin 54b says that, quote, a Jew may have sex with a child as long as the child is less than 9 years old. And
That's what they're saying. And wait, this last, right? Except that's what these people, that's what Fuentes and Owens and the Hodgkins, and that's what they're all saying the Talmud says. Now, for their 7 million fans who trust them, they believe this crap, don't they? But they believe it's coming from their authority figure. Please continue.
In reality, this is one of the most flagrant lies in all of Candace's writings. Nothing even remotely like this in the Talmud is in the Talmud, and pedophilia is especially forbidden here, and in the Levitical code in the Torah. This page of the Talmud is an exposition on the forbidden relationships in Leviticus and other punishments. On this page, it does make a distinction between sex with a minor over the age of 9 and under the age of 9, and that punishment for the child is even more severe. Candace not only is fabricating this anti-Semitic accusation, he is saying the exact opposite of what the page in the Talmud actually says.
So the page says that both are prohibited, and if it's a child under 9, it's even a worse punishment. And what does this guy say? It's allowed. Point blank lies. Please continue.
what Talmud unmasked claims that Tractate Sanhedrin 103a states, thou may never have a son or disciple who will salt his food so much that he destroys his taste in public, like Jesus the Nazarene, which Candace claims is based in Psalm 91:10.
Reality.
The reality, nowhere is Jesus or any euphemistic name for him mentioned. There is nothing about salt in Sanhedrin 103. Psalm 91:10 doesn't mention salt, and the entire Talmudic page has nothing to do with any of this. It deals with the sinful actions of evil kings, especially the The entire reference is completely fabricated.
So far, we've got a number of posts that they're just point blank lies. What other two people want to talk right now? We picked on them enough. Come on, two other people loudly. Don't make me pick you, Carolyn and Alan. Come on, what two people want to do this? Somebody, come on. Rob and Wade, there we go. Rob and Mark, come on, two people over here. Come on, Mark and Bob or whoever. Come on, somebody. What? We'll be here all night. Okay, there we go.
Oh no!
Well, now you're stuck. You and Francine or you and Carolyn? Well, I don't know your name. What's your name? Well, you can do more than one. Someone can do a handout for her. What's your name?
Like having a body.
No, they're a Jewish group of singles. What's your name? Okay, what's your name? L'Oriella. Oriella. Very beautiful. That's my middle name. Good. Another handout for her. Got the Jew. Don't be silly. So, go on, someone. Let's go. Two people read. Top of page 6. Go loudly.
Page 6. Who's reading?
I don't know. Two people over here.
What the Talmud unmasked claims. Zohar 3, 282 says.
Can you guys hear her?
No.
You guys can't hear her at all.
Wow.
All right, go. You and Eileen, go. Okay, Eileen? Go, you two, loudly.
But Talmud mass claims that Zohar 3:282 says that Jesus was buried in a donkey and buried in hell. In reality, the Zohar was written in the 13th century.
Leave this in reality. Eileen, tell them what the reality is. Come on. You read the reality.
The Zohar was written in the 13th century and is not Talmudic. Even so, Zohar 3:282 has nothing to do with Jesus or his death. It deals with the different permutations of the four-lettered name of God.
Hey, Rob, go on. Keep going.
What Talmud Unmasked claims that Gad Shas 2:2 says the Jew may violate but not marry a non-Jew girl.
And what's the reality?
This is entirely fabricated. There is not even a tractate in the Talmud called Gad Shas.
Okay, this is making crap up. You're just making it up. Please continue one more. Go.
Oh no! What Talmud Unmasked claims that Amadah Zod 22a says that Gentiles prefer sex with cows. The reality, the text says that no one should leave their animals at inns where someone is suspected of bestiality.
A little different, isn't it? Okay, so these are just a few of the examples that are, hey guys, that are specific examples of what these pundits, these influencers, these challenging people, what they are saying as opposed to what it actually says. And they're saying it as an authority. They're basing it on Talmud Unmasked, which goes back to 1280 when this Dominican priest starts. Yes, Dan. It's done by the 3rd, 4th century. It's finished, but it's the dialogues for centuries before that.
By the way, Rabbi.
Yes. Yeah, from Qatar. Okay, who wants to read about the Nazis? Who wants to read about the Nazis? Someone loudly. I will pick on you, Rob, if you don't pick something. Someone doesn't volunteer. Someone loudly. Come on. Who wants to read? Come on, guys. Who is? Stan is. Get the mic close to him so we can hear Stan.
Wait, do I go like this? Okay, the Nazis.
Loudly, Stan. They got to hear you back here.
One of the harshest anti-Semitic publications of the Nazi period is
Okay, hold on. I'm going to make this easier. Stan, come up here. Let's meet in the middle so that everyone can hear you. There you go, talking to Jesus again. Come on.
Why?
Come on. Come speak loudly so everyone can hear you.
king.
Loudly.
The Nazis, one of the harshest anti-Semitic publications of the Nazi period, is a booklet of caricatures published by the anti-Semitic newspaper Der Hammer, named The Jewish Apprentice. The artist Karl Relnick drew 35 clearly anti-Semitic illustrations and connected them all to words from the Talmud. On each picture is a quote from the Talmud, but the editor forgot to state the exact source of each quote, making it impossible to check its accuracy. Some of the pictures also have explanatory sentences from the writings of August Rolling. See the previous article and others.
This is a classic picture. This is from that book. You can see it. And if you can, I don't know if you can see the copy. In one hand, he's got a sack of money. In the other, he has a sack of Talmud. It says Talmud. Go on, please.
Der Jugendspiegel, Leipzig, 1926. The highest ranking Nazi to write about the Talmud was undoubtedly Alfred Rosenberg, a Nazi movement chief ideologist, and later the one responsible for the occupied territory in Eastern Europe. Rosenberg claimed self-righteously that when we attack the Jews, we are not doing so out of disregard of freedom of thought, as they claim, but to attack a legal viewpoint which completely contradicts that of all countries. He claims the more moral thinking is entrenched in a nation, there is less need for instructions and orders about behavior. The fact that Jews have so many commandments and that Jewish law delves into the most minute details of Jewish life proves their lack of moral understanding. Therefore, the Jews only adhere to and emphasize control of technical instruction.
All right, thank you. So, what is he saying? His point is that if everybody's moral, you don't need any commandments, you don't need any laws. And therefore, since Judaism has so many laws, they by definition must be amoral. That's their logic. That's his logic. As opposed to the reality of our laws give us guidelines so that we can have a deeper awareness of our relationship with God. But do you guys see it now? There's another piece in here that you're seeing or you could be hearing. How many of you have ever heard these social influencers like Carlson and Candace Owens and these people? Okay, one of the things that they're constantly saying is, what's wrong? We should all have free speech. It's an American right. I should be able to say the Holocaust didn't happen. Except, is free speech unlimited in this nation?
No.
Why? You can say, I heard it over here. Fire. Someone said fire. Say it loudly, Eileen.
You can't yell fire in the middle of the
It's called incitement to riot. Okay? Loudly.
Your freedom stops. Your freedom starts where somebody else's stops. Does that make sense?
My freedom stop at the tip of your nose.
Okay.
Okay? And the point is that you cannot look. The whole January 6th thing was based on the idea of incitement to riot. That was their argument. You cannot go in and incite a riot. You cannot incite violence. This is law. So when they're sitting there and making the comments about Israel, does that put everyone who's pro-Israel in danger? It does, doesn't it? It's not okay. It's not okay to say the Holocaust didn't happen, any more than it would be okay to say, you know what, all the blacks wanted to be slaves. That's not okay. All right? So, who wants to continue reading on the next page? Loudly. Someone on the next page. Who has not read yet, come on. We are on the top of page 8. Someone read. Carolyn, don't make me volunteer you or Rob. I'm going to make you Rochambeau for it. Okay, Rob's in the middle. Rob, come on up here. No, he doesn't want it. Carolyn, come on. Alex, why don't you somebody get up here? Come on, let's do this. There's 40 of you here. Let's do this. You got to speak really loudly if you're there. Okay, Francine's going to come up. Francine, come up here so you're nice and...
But I need light. I can't make without light.
All right, but come in the middle so that people can hear you over here.
In a booklet which he published, Unmoral in Talmud, Lack of Morality in the Talmud, in 1920, and again in the 1930s.
That's it. Give me your light. I'll hold it for you. There you go.
Thank you.
Loudly.
In a booklet which he published, Unmoral im Talmud, or Lack of Morality in the Talmud, 1920. And again in the 1930s, Rosenberg quotes a selection of sayings from the Talmud and the Shulchan Aruch, the Code of Jewish Law, which ostensibly attest to the Jewish people's moral inferiority. He begins with an introduction which describes the significance Jews attach to the Talmud and says that approximately 2/3 of the Jewish people still adhere to it 2,000 years later. Rosenberg contends that the opinions of Jews who are seemingly unaffiliated with the Talmud is also impacted by what is written in the Talmud, as its content is ingrained in the Jewish people. The Jews have double moral standards and act among themselves with different moral standards than those they display toward Gentiles.
Is that true? No. In fact, it's the opposite. We need to treat Gentiles with more respect. Go on.
Rosenberg's book is divided into 6 chapters: Jewish dialects, love and marriage, law and justice, about service, Jesus and non-Jews, and the Shulchan Aruch. Each chapter begins with a short explanatory foreword, followed by a list of relevant quotes.
Okay, so this is all, again, BS. Posed as if it's academia. Wait, don't go anywhere. You're going to do the next reading since you're right here.
What?
You'll do the next one since you're right here.
Okay, I got you. Okay.
Thank you.
Rosenberg contends that the opinions of Jews who are seemingly unaffiliated with the Talmud is also impacted by what is written in the Talmud, and its content is ingrained in the Jewish people.
The quote that never was.
Oh, sorry. Okay, sorry. The quote that never was. The same quote repeated themselves over and over again in various Nazi publications. One of the most condemning quotes, which appears in articles and books and over the past 120 years, is from a non-existent source. The popular source is Libre David 37. There, according to the common quote, it is written that if a Jew should wish to explain some of the rabbinic literature, he must only provide a false explanation. One who transgresses this commandment will be put to death. Providing information about our attitude toward the Gentile religion would be equivalent to killing all of the Jews, or if the Gentiles would know what we teach about them, they would kill us.
Okay, so, don't go anywhere. So, they say that there's this book called Libre David. Does that sound like a Jewish book to you? No. And then in this book, it's only written for Jews, and it says you're supposed to lie to Gentiles because you're commanded to. But you can't tell them anything about Judaism because then you would be violating Jews and it'd be punishable by death. Does that sound at all? It is Quran. Thank you. That is said in the Quran and in the Hadiths. It is not in any Jewish text, God forbid. Please continue.
It could be referring to the book of Psalms, as Liber is the book in Latin, and most of the Psalms are attributed to King David, but there's still no text there matching this quotation. Psalm 37 tells of the fall of the enemies of the Jews, but does not make any mention of keeping the secrets of Judaism and the danger in revealing them. There are those who claim it to be a spelling mistake and as referring to the book of Divrei David. It is indeed written in this way in the introduction to Alfred Rosenberg's book, where he quotes it. There are several books named Divrei David. The first published in Lubin in 1671 was the book of Rabbi David Lida. Interesting, one of Rabbi David Lida's acquaintances was none other than Eisenmenger, a Christian philosopher we discussed in the previous article, who claimed at the time to be interested in Judaism in order to convert. I went through the entire book and did not find any connection to quotation.
This paragraph is a quote from someone else who wrote an article on this.
The theologist and Orientalist Hermann Strack wrote that he went through 3 different books named Divrei David and did not find any mention of the quoted words of hatred. Theodor Fritsch in his book, Bellweiss Material Trading, and Joseph Bloch in his book Israel under Die Volker attributed to Libre David, the two vague sources. A search for words Libre David 37 in an online search engine will yield thousands of results from different forums, neo-Nazi websites, and radical religious websites, all provided the same quote, but none of them explain what the book of Libre David is.
Okay, so are you guys getting that they're sitting there and having no knowledge of Jewish text are saying this is what Jewish texts say, basing it upon what someone else said before them, like the Nazis, based upon what was said before that in Talmud Unmasked. And they just don't exist. Yet millions of people today, right now, believe that these quotes, these type of things, that Jews have secret teachings that are only for Jews, that Jews believe that Jesus is in hell of his own feces, that we are supposed to lie to the non-Jew, etc. Millions of people, you got to realize this. You think last night was a coincidence in New York City? It wasn't. Take Tucker Carlson, Candace Owens, and all their anti-Semitism and their friends out of the equation for the last 2 years. Mondami doesn't win New York. You guys see how horrific and how dangerous it is. The world today is exponentially more dangerous for all of us, Jew and non-Jew, than it was 24 hours ago. Because the New York police have a counterterrorism unit that's responsible for the whole country. And if Mr. Mamdani ends up deciding that he wants to pull money so he can have government-owned grocery stores, the only place he can pull it from in the budget is from the counterterrorism force. No mayor's ever touched that, but do you think he cares if terrorism happens on this country or elsewhere?
He already said he's going to get rid of it.
So there's your answer, right? It is much more, and a big part of it is because of these influencers. In my mind, and I've said this for a while, Tucker Carlson is one of the most dangerous people on this planet for the last couple of years. I know a lot of you were fans of his in the past. But remember, this is a guy who grew up with a mother who abandoned him at age 6. He grew up in a boarding school, very expensive boarding school, where for years, and I don't know if it's true now, they didn't even allow Jewish faculty. I didn't know if they ever allowed Jews there. It was the classic East Coast. It was in, I think, Maine, or Rhode Island. Maybe it was Rhode Island. Okay? He grew up in a world of blaming Jews. This is not new, is my point. It's just come out. So what the heck do we do about this? We got people who are saying, not only do we have horns drink blood and are children of the devil, now we get to add to that we also are responsible for Jeffrey Epstein because Mossad. We killed Charlie Kirk. We what else is this? That we believe Jesus is in hell with feces. That we're supposed to lie to Goyim, none of which is true. And Goyim, by the way, is not a derogatory term. Does anyone know what the word for nations in Hebrew is? Goyim. Goyim. Yeah, that's what this nation. Every other nation. So I want you to say. So what are we supposed to do? Someone please start reading loudly. Someone loudly. Loudly, other than me. You all hear my voice, right? Okay, so someone else loudly.
What to do today?
There you go. Do your Drew Yellen voice. Come on.
The first thing to recognize is that it is difficult, if not almost impossible, to change the feelings and opinions of anti-Semites, who are hitching their hatred on to the irresponsible comments being made by Jew-hating pundits.
Okay, if someone is an anti-Semite and hate Jews to begin with, and Candace Owens says, well, you should hate Jews because they're evil, they get to justify their hatred. It is almost impossible to shift that person's opinion. Okay, they're the last ones that are going to be shifted. They are, there's a technical term for what they are, sheeple. Okay? They're sheeple. They follow what their guru, Candace Owens, or Tucker Carlson, or Jake Shields, or Nick Fuentes have. Actually, Nick Fuentes' group is actually called Groypers, and they have millions of followers who call themselves Groypers. They have hitched their person they're fanatical about, who is saying, and they already don't like Jews, and now their hero is saying that's because Jews are evil. You're not going to change that person's opinion very easily. Okay? Because they don't care about facts, they don't care about intelligence. They just care about what their higher authority of a social influencer says. Please continue.
But we are people of hope and faith, and our actions must be, page 10, must be demonstrative of those values. If God could soften the heart of Pharaoh over 3,000 years ago, it is certainly within God's providence to open the hearts of these haters.
For many years, I've had a statement that I say a lot, okay? They say, I'm in the miracle business, and business is good, okay? Because we're Jews, and that's the reality. Okay, to live in Israel means you believe in a miracle. For Israel to exist means you believe in a miracle. For us still to be here 3,000 years later, having survived all of these people who tried to kill us, is a miracle. Period, end of report. So I have faith that in the same way God could soften Pharaoh's heart, he can soften anybody's. But he's not going to, as long as we're not taking care of our business, what we're supposed to do as Jews. Why would he? Okay? Remember that he only softens Pharaoh's heart when all of the ancient Hebrews are on board. Prior to that, he just keeps hardening Pharaoh's heart until the Jews get their act together. We got to get our house in order. Please continue.
It is important for each of us to always to be educated personally. Know the history of their arguments and know what the text actually says. Be able to point out, even if you do not know the actual text, that if they are quoting a Jewish text but do not know Hebrew, they are relying upon a translation, which is, by definition, an interpretation.
For years, I was a professor at Loyola Marymount University, right? For years. And I was very simple. I don't speak Latin, so I'm not going to comment on the Christian scriptures. So shut your mouth if you don't speak Hebrew. Just shut up. So when these people start saying that, the first thing to say is, excuse me, do you know what Hebrew is? Do you know what the text actually says? And then show them. Sefaria.org is a great website for text. It's a great translation of almost all the very big Jewish texts. The Mishnah, the Gemara, Shulchan Aruch, the Tanakh, the Torah, etc. Be able to say, you know what? That's BS. You're saying on this page it says this. Here's the page. Here it is. With each word translated. You don't know what you're talking about. I will not comment on Christian scriptures simply because I do not speak Greek or Latin or any other language other than Hebrew. And some Aramaic, but no one cares about Aramaic. Unless Jesus comes back, in which case I can speak to him in his cradle language. But other than that, there's no real advantage other than studying. All right? So know your text. Know that you can say to people that, hey, you know what? You're making this comment. Where's your source? A number of you stay with me for a lot of years. I always provide handouts, don't I? And I always source where it comes from, don't I? So no one can say, Rabbi, you made it up. You can go look it up yourself and you can see the source. Point that out to them so they realize how stupid they are to be making comments on something they know nothing about. Please continue.
Once armed with the truth and education, the next step is that we must always be courageous. When we see or hear the
I want to intersect. Does anyone know what the word courage means? Sure. Courage means, it comes from the French word licour. It means to come from your heart. That's courage. Come from our hearts, and we all have it inside us. Please continue.
When we see or hear the type of hatred that is being promoted, we must confront it head on immediately. By remaining silent, we are giving our tacit approval to what is being said and to the lies that are being promulgated.
Why has it not been that hundreds of thousands of Jews have stepped up and said, that's BS, that's not true? Why are Jews being so quiet? Our job is not to be quiet. Ask my children, okay? So our job is to step up. Go ahead.
The question was show proof. Show us your proof.
Show us it. And I'm going to show you what the reality is. Now you show me any Talmudic text anywhere. And let's look at the actual text. You're saying there's a book called God Shots. It doesn't exist. It doesn't exist. Things like this. And say, so I'm showing you the text. What are you showing me from? Well, Candace Owens said so. Who cares? She's an ignoramus. She's one of the biggest grifters on the planet, a fraud and a fake. Who cares what she says? Here's the text.
The propaganda.
Go ahead. Please continue.
Okay, that's not good. And we must keep ourselves connected to the Jewish community and with other Jews. We have an obligation and privilege to educate other Jews about the truth in Judaism, especially those who have surrendered their Judaism in favor of secularism.
Okay, let's get honest for a minute. Everyone in here right now, in whatever level, your faith is important to you, or you wouldn't be here. Okay? That's just reality. But there are a whole bunch of other people who are there. They've converted away from Judaism, not to Christianity, not to Hinduism, not to whatever. They've converted to secularism. They are ignorant. And if you learn something, why are you not sharing it with everyone else you know, with every Jew you know? So the Christian scriptures start, right? They have these disciples, right? They've got this, and they call the 4 books. What do they call the 4 books? Yeah, it wasn't that tough a question, Bob. It wasn't that tough a question. Look at there. Gospels. Does anyone know besides Bob what gospel is? Does anyone know besides Bob what gospel means? Say, I know you know. What is it? The good news. It means the good news, right? They're passing the good news. So if you've learned, if you have learned about Judaism, if you've learned about Talmud, and you're not passing on that good news, you're not doing your job. Because all of our job, you make the comment, right? I was having a conversation on the way over here with a woman named Angela Vanderplume. She's a social influencer. She used to work with Laura and run the Loomis company. A very brilliant young woman. Angela's just brilliant. And we were talking about the fact that, we don't learn our lessons as Jews. We keep getting beat up. We're like punching bags. Well, maybe if we all got our acts together, then God would send Mashiach. Maybe if we all got our acts together, maybe the world would be a better place and you wouldn't have anti-Semitism and God would send other things. Every one of us have an obligation, which is to pass the good news of Judaism to other people. To say, you know what? Talmud is an amazing text. It talks about everything. Everything. We have a monthly class of Talmud topics, right? And I think we rotate through like 20 just because it's easier. That way I don't have to rewrite notes all the time. But everything from marital intimacy, which is more detailed than the Kama Sutra, to business techniques, which are more detailed than you're going to learn at Columbia Business School, right? Dream interpretation, animal rights, everything is covered in the Talmud. And yet, they're blaspheming this text that they know nothing about. So what's our job? To tell people, hey, you know what? I went to a class in Talmud. Did you know the Talmud actually deals with this, or this? Hey, you know what? I'm really into animals. I know you really love your pets. Did you know the Talmud actually deals with animal rights? Right? Hey, I know that you're about to get married. Did you know the Talmud actually deals with sexual techniques? I only teach that class to men. Okay, I only teach that class. Look, I used to think about it, right? Bad career decision, right? Teaching this stuff, that intimacy to women. Some woman goes back to her friend. Guess what? I learned about sex from my rabbi. No, not going to happen in my life. She can find the guy that came to the class. He can teach her, okay? But a Talmud deals with everything. Everything. Humanity hasn't changed, and yet they're sitting here and saying that it deals instead with things like Jesus being boiled in feces. They're making up fallacies and lying. I said this a number of years ago. I say this periodically. To love someone or something is to proactively give to it, to help it, and to protect it, right? If someone is insulting Kim, Jim will protect her. Jim will additionally do everything he can to make her happy, right? Now you're really stupid. I can see you.
I know.
Right? Isn't that true? If you love Judaism, if you love God, this is sacred text. Why are you not protecting that text when someone says what they say? If someone said to me, Jesus was a pedophile, God forbid, I would say, you better show that to me, and you better be able to translate it from the original text, because that's not what I've ever studied. Right? So why aren't we defending our own text to other secular Jews? Because if they don't get on board, it's not going to get better. Clean your own house before you clean somebody else's. Okay? Please continue.
We must also stay united so that we are a large force to contend with. If we do not actively defend ourselves, against these lies and slander by anti-Semites, they will successfully pick us off one at a time. We must always support each other within Jewish community in all ways possible.
It is so important, isn't it? I'll read the last paragraph because of what it says. But everyone needs to tie the Hillel says, do not separate yourself from the community. Hillel the Great says that. It is our responsibility to support each other in everything we do. Okay? If you have a business that you might be interested in doing coupons, talk to Rob, because Rob has Canal Valley Groupon. Right? Do you see what I'm saying? That Rob. So, right? Support each other in everything we do. On October 7th, 2023, 95% of all Jews were on the same page, weren't we? I was saying, yes, we have to destroy Hamas, but we don't ever take joy in it. And how many people was I fighting with? Because they said, Rabbi, we should kill them, destroy them, and I'm going to dance on their graves, and I'm going to be happy. We need to do what we need to do, but we don't want to lose our souls in doing it, right? But everyone was on the same page. But by December 7th of 2023, the horrors performed by Hamas were in the rear view mirror for over 80% of American Jews. Over 80% of American Jews, 2 months later, wanted it all done. Let's just put it in the rear view mirror. By January of 2025, almost half of American Jews just wanted the war to end under any terms, and many were even demonstrating for Palestine and Hamas. And that includes rabbis who I don't consider rabbis. I'm sorry. There's a huge deep state in Israel. Huge. And people don't understand it. And it's well financed. Yeah. It's extremely well financed, right? So this is where America goes. So my question is, where will we be in January 2026 or afterwards? And the answer lies in what each of us are willing to do as individuals and with and within Jewish communities. So there was a group over here. Where did Amalia go? I guess she left. There was a group over here that were Jewish singles. Attach yourself to a group like that. Attach yourself to a temple. Attach yourself to a study group. Attach with your effort, your energy, your joy, your passion, your questions, your dialogue, your finances, your energy, your time. Whatever it is. But we are losing. Wake up. Every time one of these anti-Semites makes a comment like Jews have horns, or just the Holocaust didn't happen, or Jesus is in feces, and it says so, or Jews say that they should cheat and lie against Gentiles, confront them. Step in their face and confront them. Okay? That, and especially when it's coming from another Jew. When it's coming from another Jew, we have an obligation to say, you're out of your bloody mind. That's not what our tradition teaches. It's not what our belief is about. And realize how dangerous things are right now. It is extremely dangerous, not just because of last night, but because now you have more and more of these social influencers who are all interviewing each other, one on the other show. And what do? They pass on these fallacies. And they're not interested in learning the truth, because that would mean they'd have to say they were wrong. And we have lost most of the good, well, not most. We've lost the two biggest voices that were pro-Israel in the last year. Prager's not coming back, and Charlie Kirk's dead. Okay? We have lost two big voices. And we need to really be clear that we need to have voices. We need to step up. And every one of us here can do that. Yeah.
Would you consider Larry Elder to be a positive voice?
Absolutely. I love Larry. But Larry is extremely pro-Israel. Yeah. But that's not his focus. His focus on it, to a great extent, is not theological. It's geopolitical. It's understanding that it's our one real ally, number one. It's understanding that all of our other allies look to see how we treat Israel. Because when we betray Israel, the other allies like Japan, etc., think, okay, when are we going to betray them? So yeah, Larry's a huge, but it's so is Mark Levin. So a lot of guys, but we really need these voices, and each of us have a voice. We each have people in our own community, our own circle of friends, our family. Why is it that we're not telling other Jews, this is what Judaism says? Why are we not bringing Judaism or Jews back to Judaism? Because here's a line that I've said for a very long time, and it's true. Judaism has a very long memory. We have holidays that remind us of things that happened thousands of years ago. Jews have a very short memory. They don't even remember 9/11. And sadly, many of them don't even remember October 7th. So all the stuff we learn together is fabulous if you share it. If you keep it to yourself, you're not doing your job. Does that make sense to everyone? Any questions, comments, or jokes? Yes.
What do you tell your Jewish friends who are frightened? They tell you that they've told their children and grandchildren, take off your Star of David, take off your tie. They have taken the zuzahs off their door. They are truly frightened. What do you say to them?
Have faith.
I say that.
That's all you can say. And also realize something else. Our commandment for Hanukkah, which is going to come up not too long from now, is where you're supposed to place your Hanukkah? In a window. Except when? When you're at war. When you're at war.
Where war?
When we are at war, when someone is at war with us as Jews, you are not obligated to place your Hanukkah in your window.
So this year, we don't.
No, this year we do. We're not at war in this country.
Oh, this country.
Right.
Jews.
And they're not war. You're not. But if you were in France, I would say, you know what, you may want to think twice if you want. However, on the flip side of this, okay. So the war started. My house had already been vandalized. We moved, and it was Hanukkah time, and I bought myself this big 10-foot dreidel and put it outside in front of the house. In case you're not sure what the rabbi is, screw you, I'm here. Excuse my language. My house has been vandalized 4 times. I get death threats regularly. Thank you. Thank you. I did. Well, you know Jeremy, Chief Jeremy. Chief Jeremy calls me up a year ago and says, Rabbi, I want you to get a gun. So that, and I'm getting. Yeah, I did tell you. I think I told you. Yeah. So, yes. No, it started before that. Started right before that. So, but we moved, and you notice my address is no longer on the Temple website. Okay, I don't know if you noticed that, which always was. So, yes, loudly. I know you can sing loudly. I heard a tape, and it was fabulous, by the way.
Thank you. But Rabbi, I was thinking about a scripture that I heard all of my life, and it's Proverbs 29:2. We're talking about Jews talking to each other and encouraging. But in Proverbs 29:2, it talks about when the righteous are in authority, the people rejoice. But when the wicked bear rule, the people mourn. And I don't know what has to happen before we start coming together and, being that, like you said, with mitzvahs, I heard you
So I'm going to give you the Hebrew lesson to know what that verse means. It's talking about is when the righteous are in charge, people are happy, people rejoice, okay? What's the word for a righteous human being? Does anyone know? A tzaddik. A tzaddik is a righteous person. And if you look at the Hebrew letter tzaddik, it looks like that. That made no sense, I know. But it looks, one part of it kind of looks like this, and the other part kind of is like resting on the bent back. And it looks like a nun with its back bent, holding up God's yud. The idea is that tzaddik is someone who's a prophet who bends his back in order to serve God and support God. That's first of all. But what is a tzaddik? It's related to 2 other words in Hebrew. What's the word for charity? Tzedakah. What's the word for justice? Tzedek. The righteous are in charge when they are insisting upon righteousness. They're seeking justice and pursuing it, and when they give charity. We need to all be giving charity of our time, our money, whatever. We need all to be pursuing justice. And when we do that, then we start having more righteous people. And that's when the people can rejoice. The challenge is when you don't have righteous leaders. Okay? And the amount of righteous leaders gets smaller and smaller every day, doesn't it? And I include, by the way, these so-called rabbis who were demonstrating from Mondami, who have rabbis for Palestine. Chickens for Colonel Sanders. Or my favorite, queer rabbis for Palestine. It's just this is where Judaism's come in this country. And if we don't step up one step at a time and say this is what's reality, it doesn't get better. Yes? Tucker?
Were they pro him, or were they with him on his side? Were they calling him a fool? What was their attitude?
Well, let's see. Tucker spoke at TPUSA while Charlie was still alive. Candace had been thrown out of TPUSA because she had gone so far off the rails. Charlie didn't want anything to do with her. Okay, so she was thrown out. She will say, "Oh, but I've been talking to him, and he was going to embrace him. He and I were going to a tour together." Excuse me. I put on my vest and I get a little rough around the edges. I should wear my suit more often. I put on a vest. This is fun, Rabbi. It's not the tequila too. So, right. So the answer is that most of these people are panderers. They're prostitutes who will pander to the highest, most important source that they think can help them the most. Okay? So while Charlie's in power, they're going to pander to Charlie. When Tucker's in power, they're going to pander to Tucker. When Candace was in power, people were pandering to her. Now a lot of people have stepped away because she's so crazy. I understand that, but a lot of the other influencers have stepped away, or they're silent about her, like Officer Tatum, who is an old friend of hers, so he won't badmouth her. But he just says, she's my friend, and I'm just not going to comment on her. They'll do that. So what's our job, though? Our job is to preach the truth. So does that help answer the question about what that verse means? Loudly. Turn around. But you guys speak loudly.
I didn't really I just was agreeing with you, and you said, did that answer your question?
Okay, did it?
It did indeed. Okay. Thank you, Rabbi.
I thought you were just... It did, so it doesn't matter if you were just agreeing. All right. Other questions or comments, jokes or stories? I only know one joke that's appropriate, but it's X-rated, so I'm not going to say it.
I notice every so often the USS Liberty comes up.
Right?
Right. And they say that Israel purposely bombed Liberty. Right. I know they didn't.
Right.
But that's another one that comes up all the time.
Why can't we just explore it? Why can't we just explore the Holocaust didn't happen? You can't bake 6 million cookies in 4 years. Okay? It's like facts are kryptonite to these people. But the first group to deal with are all the Jews. So that every Jew is stepping up and saying, wait a minute, you don't get away with saying this. Because if you do, it's a tacit approval. I was recently, just this weekend, I was asked to go be at an event. There was a fundraising event. It was a very successful fundraising event. It would have been good in a lot of ways to go to it. Okay? And they decided to have as one of their speakers someone who I know is a thief and a scoundrel. Okay? Not a rabbi, claims to be, I don't know if he's a rabbi, but he's a Jewish leader who I know is a bad guy. And I don't say that easily, and that's why I'm not saying his name, but he's a bad guy. I know personally of people who have been directly affected radically in radical ways. Okay? Said I can't go. One of the people who was on planning it said, Rabbi, you got to come. It's going to be good for you. It'll be good for the temple. And so what, this guy's speaking. I said, you know what? I'm not giving my hechsher. I'm not giving a seal of approval. If I show up, it means that I think this guy is okay. I know who he is. I know he's a thief. I know he's a philanderer. I know he's a bad guy. And I'm not going to step up there. I just not, because it's giving a tacit form of approval. Don't do it. If someone's sitting there, and by the way, this was, do you know the event I'm talking about? Okay. So you know who I'm talking about? I will tell you later. But I actually introduced Eyal to Human. I introduced Eyal to JC. I sat with Human and helped him understand and everything else, what he should do. And then I said, when he said he's going to have the speaker, I said, I can't come.
Oh, so you're not talking about Human. You're talking about one of the speakers.
No, one of the people who was speakers.
Oh, okay.
No, not Dr. Human. No, he's fabulous. He's fabulous. Yeah, no, not Human. No, God forbid. No, he's fabulous. Someone else, one of the speakers who, think about who was the most Jewish speaker there, and you'll know who it was. All right, so does that make so? Yes. Loudly, he's finally making a comment. I've been waiting all night for Mark to step up and make a comment.
You and I know two Reform rabbis.
Bro, come on. No, we'll put the light on him so we can hear. Because I know where you're going to go and support. Then say it loudly.
You tell a story, because I was not there, about a synagogue here in had a Muslim speaker.
Right.
Covered up the pictures of the hostages. If we're not getting the kind of leadership we should be from our rabbinic leaders, what are us little people supposed to do and think? I don't know what the conservative synagogue teaches the pumpkin, because I'm here. I know that they're much more liberal.
It was a conservative synagogue that covered the fake pictures.
Where are the rabbis? And I'm not going to talk about these Reform rabbis, not Jewish. Teaching this.
Then get other Jews to come learn. You say, what can you do? Here's a simple answer, okay? You still wait. You still not wait. I'm going to give you. I'm going to give you a personal answer, okay? Because of our relationship, all right? You still have phone numbers of 20 people who go to those two rabbis that you and I both know are scoundrels. I don't want to say they're scoundrels. They're idiots. Okay? They support Palestine. They support Hamas. They drank the Kool-Aid. All right. So wait. But hold on, Mark. You know 20 people. Wait. You were involved in that community for a long time. You still have 20 phone numbers. You ever call them and say, why aren't you demanding better? Why are you still there? Why aren't you going to fill in the blank? Why aren't you going to? Do you see my point?
Yeah.
You just asked what you could do.
No, it's not what we feel. I'm speaking for myself.
What kind of Jew only speaks for himself? The Talmud says you're supposed to speak for everybody except the God. I know.
It's a helpless feeling to know that our rabbinic leaders are so remiss and so absent. They're so willing to kowtow, just giving up Gaza, giving up the West Bank after the war. It's easy to do to tell the world how great Israelis are. We screwed ourselves.
All right, so let me give you a different. So let me give you an example, right? We were the one synagogue in this entire state that stayed open. Okay. For which I got more hate than you can imagine, especially from rabbis. One very prominent Reform rabbi actually published Rabbi Barclay and his board should be arrested and die. And I called him on it. So I called him on it. I don't know the guy well. I called him. He said, you're killing people. I said, you don't know what we're doing. We don't know. You guys remember the outdoor services we had? Right? You don't know what we're doing. You don't want precautions, taking anything else. What you're doing is horrible. I said, you know that it says in the Talmud that the temple was destroyed because of baseless hatred like this between Jews. And this is a quote this man said to me, we're Reformed Jews, the Talmud means nothing to us. I then said to him, okay, but in Leviticus, it says you shall surely rebuke your neighbor when they say things like you did. It's not okay that you're saying this about another Jewish community. You're responsible to yours, I'm responsible to mine. To which there was a string of expletives ending with him saying F you and hanging up. Screaming F you and hanging up. But you got to understand, right? So this is whether it's COVID or whether it's this. When a rabbi decides to follow instead of lead, pander instead of stand up for Jewish values, why are we not demanding better from our rabbis? Why are we not demanding better? Because I will tell you that rabbi, I will tell you that rabbi who did that, right? I will tell you his salary at the time was probably high six, if not low seven figures. They have a large building and property and everything else. And and whatever he may or may not believe, he's also pandering to his far left donors. So I remember being in rabbinic school. And the question becomes, your largest donor comes to you and says he wants shrimp in your kitchen for his daughter's bat mitzvah. What do you say? Now, to me, the answer is very simple, right? Because I remember the Johnny Carson story. How many remember the Johnny Carson story? Johnny Carson apparently went to some hot model. He said, "Would you sleep with me for or would you have sex with me for $10,000?" She thought about it. She said, "Yes, Mr. Carson, I would." He goes, "Great. Would you do it for $100?" She goes, "What do you think I am?" He said, "No, we've already established that. Now we're just negotiating." Okay. So for me, it was a no-brainer, right? But do you know that I think there was one other person in the class that was no-brainer? Everyone else either said yes or was figuring out a way to compromise. Well, we'll let shrimp, but then we'll recosture the kitchen. And the other part of the equation was, and the donor says, if you won't let him do it at your synagogue, he's going to go to the synagogue down the street, and you're going to lose your biggest donor. To me, the answer was no-brainer. Someone else, the answer was no-brainer. Okay? But for everyone else, a number of years ago, I wrote an article. Over 100 rabbinic students and cantorial students wrote a public letter to the Jewish Forward saying that we should support Palestine, a two-state solution. Israel's wrong. And I wrote an article about it, that these people should all be expelled, and it's not their fault, it's their dean's fault, and here's their dean's office phone number and email. But those are now the people, 5 years later, who are working at synagogues. If we don't demand better of each other, then if we don't support what makes sense and stop supporting with our feet what does not make sense, covering hostages' photos, cheering for Hamas, cheering for Mandami. If we're not demanding better, why should anyone think better? Why should the world change? So I'm going to take those two rabbis that you know a bunch of people in their community, you could call. You know them. You know the brother of one of them very, very well. You know his best friend, Ira, very, very well. Okay? As well as whomever else. Then I'll bet at high holidays they were with those two people. Okay? They should say to their rabbis, this isn't okay. Be Jewish or I'm gone.
2 or 3.
Faith versus fear. Wait. One conversation at a time. Okay. Karen, you're saying something.
That people want to fit in. They're afraid of what others think. It's ridiculous.
I'm a Jew. I don't care what anybody thinks. Right? I answer to a high authority, Hebrew National. Any other thoughts or comments? All right, so that's really, that's where we'll end it for tonight. We're going to turn off the video. I will tell you the one joke that is appropriate for tonight, but I'm not going to tell it on video. So we have services.